Now, your marriage broke up after what, about 9 years, huh? 8, 9 years?
We were together for a little over 10, but I served him with divorce papers shortly after 9 years, 3 months, 9 years, 4 months.
What was the biggest factor? Would you have to say it was the lifestyle that you just really got tired of the lifestyle? Was it his drug problems that became an issue raising a son?
I wasn't going to beat him and I wasn't going to join him. It was not the path that I wanted for my child and I. Growing up and being around all of that, I wasn't going to put up with adultery and I wasn't going to put up with drugs. And I'm not innocent. And I can say this in front of you. I smoked pot. I quit when you were born, but I never really got into drugs. So again, if you don't join them, they're going to find somebody else who will. Or they're going to, you know, I was raising a son and he was on the road. It just
Well,
happens. It's the
as it
industry.
worked out and he remarried and had 3 other children, but you all came together at some point and made peace, and you spent a lot of time with your dad and his new wife and your 3 step siblings, correct?
Yeah.
So you were still a part of his life. What do you remember most about his music that you love so much?
I mean, now it's more just I get to hear his voice and that I can't. So I didn't really listen to a lot of it before because it was like dad's music. It was his job. I mean, I listened to it, but it wasn't something like I don't know. I felt like I just didn't listen to it as like on like a regular
Well, you take it for
basis.
granted. That's your dad's music. You probably listen to other artists that you like,
Yeah.
right? And their parents probably wondered why their kids didn't listen to their music and
Yeah.
listen to, Linkin Park. So I think it's what you grew up with.
Yeah.
So, but you do respect his talent and the fact that he's made such an impression on the world, musically speaking.
No, yeah. I think he was extremely talented, and I listen to it a lot more now, and I really enjoy it.
Do you have musical ability too? Did you inherit a voice?
I mean, I don't. If I did, I don't use it
So you
very
don't.
much, so I wouldn't know.
It's not something you want to do to be a singer or
No,
songwriter.
no, yeah, keep it to the shower.
Oh, that's a good
Yeah.
place. That's where all of us sing in the shower. I'm a star in the shower. We'll be right back and we'll talk about his suicide when we get back.
As a business owner, you're always looking to save money and cut costs where you can. And if you advertise on radio or television, you know it can get pretty pricey. If radio and TV aren't delivering like they promised, and you're looking for a more reasonably priced way to get your message to the masses, I've got an answer for you. New Radio Media. With live streaming and on-demand programming, your message can be seen throughout the day, and you can worry a little less about cutting those costs. For more information, go to newradiomedia.com or call Buzz Van Houten at 248-939-9999.
This June, Fat Mike's Punk and Drublic Festival takes over Legend Valley Campground in Thornville, Ohio for 3 days of kick-ass punk rock, food, beer, and camping. Lineup includes NoFX, Rancid, Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, Pennywise, Muddy Muddy Boss Jones, and much, much more. In addition, there will be a craft beer tasting garden with over 200 craft beers, which includes local and national. Also, there will be stories from the road, including Fat Mike of NoFX, Keith Morris of Black Flag, and Jello Biafra. Tickets are on sale right now at punkandrublicfest.com. We'll see you there.
Okay, we're back with Samantha and Draven Bennington. And now we're going to end on a somber note, but yet a very positive one, because your dad's suicide has made you an advocate for suicide prevention and working with young kids whose parents have also experienced that, and I'm sure you're proud of the work you're doing and the kids that you're guiding.
Yeah. I mean, we got into it a couple months afterwards, and just hearing the stories is really nice, and hearing how it helps people or someone brings it up, and it's really cool.
Well, how did you find out about it, Samantha? Because you didn't find out by a phone call.
One of my girlfriends heard it on the radio or TMZ, I think, and no one called us. So when she called me, she wouldn't really tell me. I had to get her to spit it out, and I screamed, yanked all electronics, and had to have my business managers and my son's godfather help us verify who's the guitar player for the Deftones, Stephen Carpenter. And that's how we found out. To this day, nobody's called us.
Which is kind of shocking since it was your father. You'd think somebody would have had the wherewithal to contact you directly so that you could have heard it directly from your stepmother or somebody else. It's not even a year yet, so it's still pretty raw. It'll be a year in July. What's your last memory of your dad before that happened? When was the last time prior to that you'd spent time with him?
It was, I think, almost exactly a week before, and I went over to his new house and I spent 5 days there, which it was really nice to spend time with him. And we just did things like we swam in the pool, and it was just normal. We went rock climbing. That's something that we usually did, and hung out with my siblings and him, and just we had a really good time.
And he was clean and sober at that time, wasn't he?
For a long time since then, yeah.
So that must have made you feel good and hopeful that things were going great. I know he was still real depressed, Samantha, about Chris Cornell's death because he was close to you guys, right?
Not to us. That was his relationship with his new wife at the time. What is so disturbing, if I might say, is, through the years of being divorced, we were constantly in therapy for custody, for this, for business. We were business partners. We shared in lots of things over the years. So we healed almost everything, and I got my best friend back, and I was so proud of him. I always thought I'd get that phone call one day, but then I knew we made it in the clear. He was sober for, God, 3 to 4 years, 2.5, 4 years. I mean, that would be cutting him short, giving him only 2.5. He was sober.
That's a beautiful thing because he struggled for so many years prior to
But
that.
to go to that rehab was just shocking when we found out. And he called me from rehab, and he said, when I get out of here, I want to take you and Draven out to dinner, and I'm going to tell you everything. And at that time, I was kind of really upset because Draven was 13, and I was like, wow, this is not a conversation for a 13-year-old. He shared his depression. He shared how he stayed in longer in the rehab to work. He needed to stay longer, and we were grateful that he did. And I felt like he overcame all of that. Thank God he sat us both down and told us everything he did, because it would have been my word with his dad's word, or whatever the band or anybody wants to say, whatever he could have told all of us his own story, and they could all be different. But what he told Draven and I to our faces, and consistently, even on Draven's 15th birthday in April, and he loved coming to our Malibu house, we got to forgive each other for everything we've both done in our marriages. I had my friend back. I had one of
That's so beautiful.
I've known him longer than I haven't known him.
Right.
And that's what I think people forget. Yes, I'm the ex-wife. Yes, we did a lot of things together, but I've known him longer than I haven't known him in my lifetime now.
Plus, you were there from the very beginning, the whole inception of Lincoln Park and the whole developing of his career. Near the end there, he had just done a new album, right, Draven? Was he talking to you about that last week when you were there? Did you talk about his new album and the work he was doing?
Yeah, he played some songs in the car, and he let me listen to those. And I think, yeah, it was already out by then, but I remember earlier before it was out, he let me listen to some of the like rough versions of it too. So it's like hearing it rough to all composed was something like that was something that like we went over in the car. And
I think just the idea that you have those memories is something that you'll always have. I mean, he has so many fans that miss him and loved his voice and his music. And it must have been fun to drive with him and just hear all the stuff before the public heard it. Because I remember when we all went to lunch one time at that country club near your house, and he was just working on a new album. And I'm trying to think which song it was that he sang for us at the table that day. And I remember thinking, oh, that's a hit. That was great. And of course, I think it was Numb.
Oh, it must.
It was Numb. And of course, we all know that that became a big hit. But it was fun just to hear it before it ever came out. So that has to have been a great part of your childhood, hearing all this music before everyone else heard it. I was at the funeral with both of you. And I think that it could have been handled a little differently. But obviously, being that you were the ex-wife and the current wife had children of her own with him, did you feel slighted, Draven?
I mean, I think we were a little, yeah, I don't think we were in the best situation. I think we were pushed off a little to the side and like very separated with the rest of my family.
Yeah, I noticed that because we were kind of off to the side, weren't we?
Literally.
But I think the most important thing to remember is that he was clean and sober at the end. I think that the autopsy showed that he had no drugs in his system.
And I really, as his ex-wife with a lot of history, I think I have the right to say, and maybe not, but it's my opinion. I really don't like him being the face of depression because he was so much more than that. He was a father. He was a son. He was a best friend. He was a musician. He was a philanthropist. He touched so many people's lives that we can't just remember him as the face of depression. It's insulting.
Chester Bennington was an amazing, incredible talent, and he will live on through his beautiful, wonderful son, Draven, and we all miss and love him.
Very much.
So is there anything you'd like to say before we leave, Draven?
Love you, Dad.
Samantha?
Just be in peace.
Be in peace, Chester. We miss you.
Count down to the end of the day, the clock takes life away. It's so unreal. Didn't look out below. Watch the time go right out the window. Trying to hold on to didn't